Okay, the snappy timing is one of those other few results that happen when back in the time of doing cartoons for TV, they were thinking about tips and tricks in order to make, those shows entertaining and funny enough without spending too much money on it. That's why we look at these cartoons. It's happened a lot that we can see that there is this overall feeling of going from pose to pose, which each pose where the character stops and says and acts something is a very powerful, very appealing and very expressive pose, and that is held as much as possible and only changes when it's actually really necessary because there is something else that has to be done, right? So this is a very efficient way to be cheap and still get very good results in terms of entertaining value. Simply think about it as that each pose means money, at least back in that time. The more time the animators would spend drawing and doing drawings, were more expensive could get those shows. So that's why they used to do it this way, right? Trying to find the less amount of poses that are necessary, hold them and do fast transitions, because of course in each transition a new pose has to be drawn, right? So that's still a lot of time for each animator. So that's why also the transitions used to be fast, because at the same time it's not only creative research that looks fun enough, is that it also is cheap to do. So that's how more or less, let's say, the snappy timing came into be a thing into the TV series, not just for creative decision, but also because cost efficiency. So that's why when it comes to working a cartoony show or something that has that kind of a snappy feeling, it's good to have in mind some kind of tricks or numbers or usual diagrams of numbers of timing that more or less that works. For example, for me, I use this kind of diagram very often, and always of course thinking about the animation as something that goes on twos. Of course, if we're working for a feature film that works for 24 frames per second, we will have to break this down one more time, but my recommendation is that at least when it comes to timing and snappy timing, and we are working in any kind of show, we think about the timing of our animation on twos. So this is, for example, an example of something that what I would do. In the first 2 frames is just when it comes to when we're going from A to B in a pose to pose transition. The first 2 frames are just for the ease out, or maybe some part of the body is leading. The next 2 frames, or the frame number 4, is for the full transition, or like the full breakdown, where maybe we have a gap or we have some smears or something going on. For the next 2 frames, which is the frame number 6 as well, maybe I would apply something that is arriving to the point number B, maybe with an overshoot, or maybe with some drags, or maybe with some overlap or an easy in. And then finally, in the next and final 2 frames, or the frame number 8, I would arrive to my final pose, or pose number, or pose B pose of this transition that as I'm giving as example. But again, let's not think too much about it. Let's not get stressed. This is just an example for you to follow me in the thing of having something in mind, like a scheme or something, or a diagram that we will always use when it comes to doing some timing or doing transitions from A to B, right? This of course will change depending on the show that you are working on, the amount of time that you have, the kind of, because if maybe TV or maybe film, who knows, right? So depending of what is the situation that you're working on, you will have to adapt these numbers in a different way. So we will see this, how we apply it when we start working in our exercises.